hold and heal looks completely different to everyone, right? And I think it's important to know and to understand, what does that mean and look like for you, and what do you want your life to look like? And you can envision that whatever way you want to.
Welcome to another episode of the Traumaless podcast. I'm your host, JR.
And I'm your co-host, Pat.
All right, y'all. Just today, we have a very, very special guest with us. We're going to let her introduce herself. And after that, we're going to get into a mental tap-in where we give a rating on a scale of 1 to 10. So I'm going to let our guest go ahead.
Go ahead, introduce yourself and give your name, your occupation, and where they can find you at on social media.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Whiteside. I am a licensed social worker, I'm a therapist, a healer, a lover of humanity, a doula, an educator, just a pretty dope person, I would say so. I am here in the city of Philadelphia. I have my own private practice called Altruistic Ash, and you can find me on all the socials at Altruistic Ash.
Nice. I love it. All right, so we're going to get into our mental tapping. So start with my co-host, Pat. How you feeling today? Give me a rating on a scale of 1 to 10.
I ain't gonna lie. This week I've been at a 5, but
A 5.
Look, I've been burnt out. But I'm not gonna lie. This being here and having this conversation, I love doing stuff like this. So I can say I'm at a 10 now. This is what I enjoy doing. What about you?
I'm on 10.
10.
I'm on 10. We got a guest today. Like, and my boy Pat here. He's been a little bit low energy today. Like, I got all the energy, and I wish I could pass it on, but that ain't it. I got Nate on the ones and twos in the back, trying to make sure the sound quality straight. So,
Ashley, how about you? How you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10?
Ooh, on a scale of 1 to 10, in this moment today, I think I'm gonna say I'm at a 7. I'm riding high. I had a very full day. I'm excited to be here. Feeling a little bit tired, almost to the point of being like,
maybe you need some of my energy.
I'm not gonna lie. Definitely took like a 15-minute nap, and I was like, all right, we can keep going. Okay. And so, it's the little things that we do to keep it making work.
That's good.
Okay. So let's get started with the conversation. I really want you to kind of talk about your story, like what led you to becoming a healer. Let's put it like that, because that's just one of therapists. Being a therapist is just one of the many hats under healer. So, what led you to becoming a healer?
Yeah. So my story really starts with the fact that back in high school, right? I knew that I wanted to help people. I have just kind of naturally been that person who's like, I just want to help. Like, that's just innate in nature to how I move through the world. And at my high school, I had a intern with our guidance counselor, and she was studying social work. She was a Black woman. It was the first time that I had seen a Black woman therapist or a Black woman social worker. And as a part of her graduate program, as all MSW students have to do, you have to do your clinicals, right? So you have to essentially intern somewhere for free to get some experience under your belt before you graduate. And I worked with her, and I remember working with her changed my life. And I was just like, I want to do this for other people. I had never had someone that had sat across from me, that understood me, that was able to reflect back to me my experience and listen without judgment and provide a container of care. Well, before I had language for any of this, but that's exactly what she did, right? And the challenge with that is I just had never seen that before. I was actually kind of like in shock and in awe. And there's this one pivotal moment that I constantly come back to. And I had this session with her. We're meeting during lunchtime in the library and talking things through. And oh my gosh, I'm going to age myself. But the song, the Wale song, Is It Bad?
Oh, yeah.
I know you.
Yeah.
So that song came out, and for whatever reason, it triggered the hell out of me. And so I was just like, I'm never gonna find love, and I'm always just gonna be somebody jump off. And then it was wild and insane. And instead of her being like, girl, you tripping, in the ways that my friends were like, girl, you tripping, she was like, okay, well, why do you feel like that? And how can I support you? And what do you want to believe? What kind of life do you want to live? That changed everything for me. For the first time, I had someone who was willing to listen, and instead of judgment, provided a space of care and curiosity. And after that, I was like, yep, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Absolutely. Positively.
What do you feel like at home? Like, what was your home like? Do you feel like you didn't have that at home, or kind of what was that environment that like made you even want to seek or even become like, this is something I need to do?
Yeah, so it was interesting because growing up, my parents got divorced, right? And when my parents got divorced, I, being the dramatic, 8-year-old, was like, oh my God, I don't want to live anymore. And there was a girl named Ashley Thomas Meager in my class. I remember her full name. Hate that girl. She was like, oh my God, Ashley said she wants to kill herself. And then it turned into this big thing, right? Because you're a kid and you say that you want to unalive yourself. Right. And they're like, okay, we have to take you to the principal, and we have to make sure that your parents know and make sure that you're good, right? And so that was my first interaction and engagement with therapy. And I went and saw some child therapists for like a couple of months, and we played games, and I was like, I guess this is therapy, but we play games and just talk about how I feel, and I feel fine, so I guess it's fine. That was my first engagement with therapy, and I was pretty indifferent after that. At home, I was primarily raised by my mom. My dad was still in my life, but I was primarily raised by my mom. Okay. And as a Black single mom to 3 other girls, like, her capacity and her bandwidth was just limited. Like, she was fighting every single day to keep a roof over our heads, to keep food on our table, and to make sure that we had the things that we needed and some of the things that we wished for and wanted. And so my mom is not a touchy-feely parent. My mom is a very much so, if you're going to cry, I'm going to give you something to cry about kind of parent. Is,
I can't relate.
You know, like,
I don't know what you're talking about.
My mom was also, she was in the military. Like, in my family, a lot of the women actually went to the military on my mom's side of the family versus the men. And so, like, there was just this hardening that my mom had. Like, she just wasn't the touchy-feely parent. If you met my mom now, you'd be like, okay, because it's definitely not true currently, because she has had the space and capacity to grow in that way. Right. But growing up, she felt blunted in that development area. And so it was really, really, really challenging. If I had feelings or big feelings about things, my dad was the parent that I would go to. He was the one who would hold space, and he would be like, oh, it's okay to cry. Like, you could cry. It's all right.
Well, at least you had that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think what's more common, or what people mostly associate, is the inverse, right? They expect the nurturing parent. Exactly. They expect your mom to be the more nurturing parent,
the stern one,
and your father to be the more stern one. And in my case, it was flipped. Right. And still to this day, like, if I have a crisis, I'm calling my dad first. Sorry, Mom, I love you. But I'm definitely but I'm calling my dad first. I'm definitely gonna call him first, and he's the one who's gonna be able to talk me off the ledge and then get me into logic, and then I can call my mom and be like, okay, here's what happened. It's solved and it's fixed now. So yeah.
Hold on, I got a question.
Tell me.
So first off, I like the green you got on. You kind of got that going on today. You're out of the loop. But secondly, I see that you have tattoos.
Lots of them.
Does any of your tattoos have meaning? And if so, what are their meanings?
All of them have meaning.
Okay. You don't gotta go through all of them, but more so, like, what would probably be your favorite one that has the most meaning to you?
There's two that I could show on camera that I that have significant meaning, right? I'll start with this one. So this is an image that was originally created by a creator named Bubsy and Bear. Mm-hmm. And she is an illustrator out of upstate New York and Albany, New York.
Okay.
And it's an image of a sunflower personified kneeling down and holding hands with a sunflower bud, right?
That's
and there's a
it.
little rose in between it.
Okay.
And the really beautiful thing about this specific tattoo is this was a image that she initially created with the intention of saying that her healed self was offering healing to her child and her daughter. And because I don't have children, I interpreted this as my whole integrated adult self offering healing to my inner child. Okay. Right. And so this is something that's like super duper meaningful to me and is a reminder every single day that, your childhood can be what it is, right? Children don't ask to be brought into this world. They don't ask to be put into circumstances and situations that they are in within their childhood. But you do have the opportunity as an adult to make different choices and decisions for yourself about what life you want to live and how you want to live healed and whole.
Who that sound like? So you say it all the time.
So we did a prelude, and I say that all the time. I'm like, we have to be accountable for, we are in control of our lives. We don't control what happens to us, but we control how we respond to them. Absolutely. And how we choose to let it affect us. And it's just, even me and you and just hearing you talk is like, it's confirmation for me that, because I'm not a licensed therapist, but a lot of the stuff you say, I say myself. So yeah.
And, one of the things I try and tell people all the time is that you can be a healer wherever you are, right? I think sometimes people let degrees and letters and credentials trip them up, but everyone has the opportunity to be their light in their community, right? I believe in the butterfly effect, right? So if one person is able to be a healed, whole person and impact the lives of all the people that are closest and around them and show them the opportunity or the possibility that is beyond whatever feels like the predetermined path of your life, then you are in a space where then another person can see that, internalize that, and make a different choice and decision. Unfortunately, oftentimes what I feel like happens is people get caught in the cycles of, well, this is what my dad did, or this is what my mom did, or this is our family history, trauma and pain. And so it becomes familiar, right? And anything that is familiar, even if it's dysfunctional, right? Anything that's familiar, even if it's dysfunctional, even if it's not close to the life that you want to live, you can replicate it because the predictability of that path, right? And so it's rough. And I always like to tell people, I was like, freedom is beget by imagination. And I think the challenge with that is when you've seen the same thing over and over in your life, in your community, in your family, and what's being shown and pushed to you on social media, you don't think or dream beyond that.
Right.
Now, what was the second tattoo that had?
The second tattoo, so it starts it doesn't start as a line, but there is I'm describing instead of trying to turn around. There's a sun that's on the back of my neck. Okay. And one of the rays of sun comes all the way down my arm. The sun represents my inner light, right? And I have it on the back of my neck because in traditional African religions, there's this idea that you have an ori, which is your head, which represents your destiny, kind of like your path, right? And then the rest of it is your physical body. It's the actual meat and flesh incarnate here. And so this is like, I put it on my neck to join or represent the joining of my head and my physical body. And then I took one of the rays of the sun and I had it come down my arm because your hands and your arms are how you reach out and touch and connect with other people. Without arms, we can't, I mean, I guess you could connect. That might be ableist. Anyways, it's possible. I'm sorry. So what I like to say is that this is how I share my light, is through my hands and my arms. So it's another reminder that you have a light and you share it every single day with people, whether intentionally or unintentionally. So how do you be mindful of that?
Okay, I love it. I asked that question particularly because I know a lot of people, they show expression through their tattoos.
Absolutely.
Like all their situations that they've been through, like their pain, like the good that they go through.
The loves of their lives.
Exactly. Unfortunately, people be doing that. But like I have a couple tattoos myself, and like I have one right here that's on my hand. This is very important to me because it represents me, my mom, my dad. Like the name that they gave me, the year I was born, and the numbers of 11. The day I was born, the day my mom was born, and my dad's college jersey number. It symbolizes who I tie back to. Like so, that's just how I look at things. And with tattoos, like, and I'll try to make sure that all my tattoos have meaning in itself. And that's what I seen seen your tattoos, especially the one that was on your wrist. I'm like, I gotta know.
I'm crazy. I love tattoos. I think that they should be visual reminders on your body every single day. Another tattoo that I have here on my elbow, it says bend, don't break. And it's a reminder about willow trees. Willow trees are my favorite tree. That may be a very nerdy thing to say, but weeping willows, I just love them. I think that they are some of the most elegant and beautiful trees that exist. And they represent what does it mean to be bent in every direction and not succumb to whatever wind blows. So,
and the fact that you got it right there on your arm,
on your elbow,
like where that joint going to bend,
exactly,
ain't gonna break. Well, it'll break if it go the opposite direction.
Yeah, we don't want that.
So I want to ask you, with being a therapist or being in the healing field, what are some of the common issues that you come across, or that you would say that people say are there?
It can be anything, especially working here in the city of Philadelphia. I would say grief, unresolved grief, pain from loss is something that has been very, very prevalent. And I think it would be a cop-out answer to say trauma, right? Because trauma is pervasive everywhere, right? But more uniquely, I think grief is something that I'm seeing a lot more of. What does it mean and look like to live a life outside of whatever has been prescribed to you? And how do you envision that when there may not be a blueprint that you can see or that you can replicate? Also, so with the work that I do, oftentimes it's kind of like this challenge of becoming an individual. And what I mean by that is growing into yourself and filling out your own skin. I think it's really, really easy for folks to, again, just be whatever they are expected to be or have seen in their world. So what does it mean and look like to do the challenging work of asking yourself the questions of who am I? What do I actually desire? What do I really wish for? If that doesn't go along with what anybody in my life has ever done, how do I reconcile with that dissonance, right? And continue to move forward and create the life and be brave and courageous enough to continue to create the life that I want.
Okay. So with you being a therapist on that aspect, first off, what is the main demographic that you typically...
Black people.
Okay.
Black women, black men, black children, black people. I love black women. They got a special place in my heart for black people.
Listen, the fact that as soon as I ain't even finished the state, black
people.
I love it. I love it.
Strictly from my niggas.
Hey, listen, I love it.
Oh man,
I love it. I love it.
No. I mean, I agree. I think it's important though, because like you even mentioned, it was important for you to see someone that looked like you in that field.
Absolutely.
It was important to see. I feel like, especially within our community, we don't do a good job of providing. It's like even just being a friend, a brother, a sister, a lover, whatever the case may be, whatever way we show up, we don't even provide that space for ourselves. So it's like, when it comes to therapy, it's like it's already the disconnect because like you don't know my experiences before, you know, you can't really truly understand.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like having someone that looks like you. It's like a safe. It's like say you feel safe, you feel comfortable. It's like you're not talking to, you don't feel like, oh, I'm talking to some stranger. Not even though you may be a stranger. It's like you gonna know what I'm talking about.
Right. There's a base level of understanding of communal experiences that doesn't have to be explained. And that alleviates a lot of the pressure that I feel specifically Black people feel going into a therapy room and space, because they feel like, okay, I'm here and I'm trying to process these things, but I also then have to do the additional labor of teaching you why this is important, what's going on, the context around this, for you to even understand what I'm trying to explain to you in the first place. Right. And working with someone of your same culture within your community, there's a lot less of that we can cut on, right? I'm not saying it's perfect, right? Like, Black people are by no means a monolith, and there are definitely experiences that I may not have gone through or may not have had experience or exposure to that can contextualize someone else's experience, right? And so, but it does cut through a lot of it. Also makes it really relatable. Like, I mean, just yesterday in session, my client said something and I said, damn. I said, oh, I'm sorry. Right? And, you know, like, there are just cultural references that we're able to pull in, and like, it's almost kind of like those nods and those winks, like, yeah, I see you. Yeah. I see you. Yeah. I get it. I understand. Yes. And like, all of you is welcome in this space. All of you is welcome in this space.
I love it.
So within that space, especially being a therapist, a doula, social worker, is there a lot of us, or what is your view on, you know, the field?
I am biased because I acknowledge that, right? I am biased because I always seek that out, right? I seek out other Black providers, whether men, queer people, non-binary, I look for the Black people, right? And a great example of that is today I had a compatibility call. That's what I do for like my intakes, right? I had a compatibility call with someone, and, you know, 7 minutes into the call, I was like, I don't think this is going to work, but here's a person who I can refer you to. Like, you want to have in-person sessions? Great. I'm going to refer you to this therapist that is still within our community, that I have a relationship with, that I would trust with you, and that I really believe that you could have a beneficial working relationship with. And guess what? Also, if that doesn't work out, call me back, because we're going to figure this out together, right? And like, that, I think, is like the difference. It is, I believe that the work that I do is a part of how I show up within the community. It's not just a job. Right. There are some people that have the luxury within their careers to be like, nope, this is just my job, and I go and I do this job, and then I have the rest of my life. The work that I do and how I show up in community are intrinsically intertwined, right? And so people that I serve are a part of my community, right? And obviously there are boundaried relationships. I am a professional, but we are in community together, right? And so how do you honor that? And I love thinking about the ways in which that interplay happens, because there are some things that, you know, by ASWB standard, they'd probably be like, I don't really know about that, but are like communal in nature, right? Like, would they probably look at this and be like, dang, she said damn in session, and she was like kikiing with her client. If I took the, you know, the clinical licensing exam, that would never be on there. However, it's meaningful, and that's how we take theory and actually make it into a praxis that you can practice with others.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, I like that.
So let me ask you, do you think receiving therapy at an earlier age will help that child better process life, or versus someone being an adult and then coming and seeking? Like, what is your thoughts on that?
I love this question because I have worked with youth, I worked with young adults, I worked with adults, I worked with older adults, like across the span of my career. And I will never forget my very first job out of grad school. I was working as a school social worker. The school that I went to, when I was getting introduced to like my new students that I work with, and there was a black child, a black girl, and she was like, "Oh my God, that's gonna be my therapist." And they were like, "Yeah." And at that point in time, I came in with my big afro, and she was like, "Her hair looks like mine." I was like, "Yeah, like that's how." Like it's those simple things, right? And
Right.
I like to say and to think that the most beneficial therapy is the therapy that someone is open, ready, and willing to participate in. And that can happen at any point in time in life. That is when it's going to be the most impactful. They're pushing therapy on, because like I've worked with folks that were mandated, which essentially means that they were forced to come to therapy as a part of whatever circumstance or situation that they were in. Oftentimes when you force people to do things, they don't want to do them. Right? And so I found in my own private practice, people that are actively seeking this out, people that are actively like, I do want to learn more about myself, or there is this specific situation that I want to process and work through and understand a bit more. That is when therapy is the most beneficial and the most, I don't want to say productive, but the most rewarding.
Okay. What you thinking about? Hey, you want to ask something?
So I'm trying to think about when it comes to your sessions, like what is a specific way that you possibly typically go about handling your clients when they come to you with, let's say, an issue of anger or like just like a situation that they come across? Like what is some of the advice that you typically give your clients?
I am not in the business of giving advice. I like to remind people that if you have a therapist that is telling you how to live your life or move or navigate through your experiences, run. Any therapist that is worth their weight in gold is creating a space that is safe enough for you to be able to ask those hard questions and do that level of self-reflection. My job is not to tell you what to do. My job is to provide you with the space so that you can be brave enough to ask yourself these hard questions, right? So given the example of anger, we could have a conversation around, okay, what does anger actually feel like? Where does it reside in your body? What are the patterns that you notice around when you're feeling angry, right? Typically when we're doing emotional processing, I like to remind folks that there's usually a feeling that feels like the biggest thing, but there are also oftentimes a lot of other little things that are co-occurring with that, especially with anger, right? I like to remind folks and say, anger is a very easy and accessible emotion. What is not easy and accessible or comfortable is to express sadness, to express longing.
Why is that?
And the reason I like to say that is that anger has become socially acceptable, right? Specifically when we're talking in the context of Black men, right? This idea you got to be hard, this idea that you have to present masculinely, right? Anger is something that is acceptable or seen as like an acceptable response to things. And as a result of that, it breeds out vulnerability. So anything outside of anger ends up being this space of like discomfort, right? So yeah, maybe you're actually angry about something, or maybe you're really deeply sad and frustrated with the situation, but expressing sadness and frustration are actually harder and more complex than anger.
Okay. Let me get an example of something like outside of anger.
Sure.
So one of the things that I'll say that I deal with is setting boundaries. Like, so if I was to come to you like, hey, listen, I'm having trouble with setting boundaries of telling people no.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to do that.
Why are boundaries important to you?
They're important because I know once I end up doing it, I'm gonna be mad that I'm doing it.
Okay. So boundaries help you to not feel resentful on the back front, right?
Okay.
What is a situation or a generalization of like when you find yourself doing those behaviors? What's going on contextually?
So, example wise, so my mom, she does catering for people. My fault. She does catering for people and stuff like that. So when I used to live there, like me being there and her being my mom, I had to help. So due to me having to help, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to get up, go downstairs, carry all this heavy stuff, put it inside the van, take it to the place, help set up, break stuff down, take everything back, but yet nobody else is helping. It's me, my mom, my dad doing everything. And I'm like, where's everybody else? Go find other people to help you. This is something you enjoy. I don't. I'm being forced into it. Granted, it's my mom. I love her. I'm going to help. I don't want to see her be in pain and be frustrated. But it's like, I don't want to do this. So I'm like, at some point in time, when can I say no? When can I sit here and voice that frustration?
So what I'm hearing is when you feel like you are obligated to do something that you may not have the capacity, bandwidth, or even desire to do, and you feel like you're being strong-armed into it, whether that's because of a familial relationship, a previous, like you did this once last time, so now I just expect you to do this all the time, it makes you feel resentful, right? And so I think it's important to recognize what happens or what do you feel before resentment, right? So resentment is an outcome, right? Something happens, and as a result of the something happening, then we build up a level of resentment or contempt for a person. But having boundaries allows us to get to the point where we don't resent the people in our lives and being able to have healthy relationships with them. I always like to tell folks, boundaries don't mean stop, stay away, get out of here, leave me alone. It's a way to say, we are in relationship together, and this is the way that I would like to navigate our relationship so it can be stronger and more fruitful. Right? People think that boundaries are meant to keep people out, when in actuality, boundaries are meant to negotiate how we can continue to be stronger and better together. So I'm curious for you now, because I one of the things that I think is important in therapy, and this is a part of my own therapeutic practice, is anytime that we have a session, my clients leave with homework. Right? Or I call it heart work because people have aversions to the word homework. And so I say heart work, right? But my challenge to you, or my invitation to you between whatever time that we had session the next time, is to say, what is one place in your life that you can honor your no, right? And or to explore, what does no feel like in your body, right? Because there are probably times where you were laying in bed and you were just like, I don't want to do this, right? And so what does that actually feel like in your body? So that way, when you encounter those situations, you know that it's a no. And also conversely, asking yourself, what does a yes feel like in your body? So that way, when you're encountering situations, you can be like, hell yeah, I want to do that. Like that actually, like that feels really good and heart aligned. And allowing yourself to make choices and decisions on what you will and won't do based on that. One other thing specifically that I talked about with folks when making boundaries and they're in the process of doing it, give yourself time to make choices and decisions. Oftentimes I feel like people think just because someone has presented you with an offer and an opportunity that you have to give a response right then and there. When the truth of the matter is there are very, very few things in this world that are life and death, and that you actually do have time to think about. When I was working on my own process of setting boundaries, I had a 48-hour rule. Anything that was asked of me that was meant to be done within 48 hours, the answer was no. And then I would give myself 2 days to kind of sit with it and make a choice and decision on if I wanted to or not. And oftentimes it took a while to build up the repetition and like the muscle of identifying, yep, this feels good, or no, this doesn't, to the point where at this point in time, I can say no. I can say yes to whatever I want. And I think it's important to remember and to recognize that on the other side of that choice and decision, there's another person that's going to have feelings about it.
And that's the part that I struggle with when
Right?
it comes to most situations, is that I care more about somebody else's feelings than my own.
Why?
I don't like hurting people's feelings.
Why?
I just don't. I don't like hurting people's feelings, so I just rock with it. Especially when it comes to my mom. Like, she's like, you had talked about being strong on into things. Like, moms and parents, people in general, have a way of being like, hey, listen, I did this for you, so you should do this for me.
That's called guilt tripping.
Yeah. And yeah, I'd be guilted into a lot of stuff, and
Right.
it'd be making me mad.
And this is not to say anything bad about your mom, but that is like that is a way of manipulation, right? It's emotional. Guilt tripping is a form of emotional manipulation. Somebody making your relationship transactional and saying, if you don't do this thing for me, then you are not, or you are less valuable to me, right? I encourage folks that are in any situation, relationship, whether it's your mama, whether it's your girl, whether it's your friend, whether it's your boy, if you feel like that is happening as a dynamic in your relationships, ask yourself, are you actually okay with that? Is that actually something that you want to engage in? There are some relationships that you're like, actually, this doesn't feel good and I don't want to do this, so I'm not doing it. Right? People are going to have responses. People are not going to like that you are changing things on them. And if they love you, they'll adapt. Right? Yeah. And they'll know that when you show up, it's because you actually really mean it and you want to be there. Right. You're not doing something out of obligation. You're not doing something out of resentment or begrudgingly, right? So I highly, highly recommend that. There's going to be discomfort, but I highly recommend continuing to follow through with it.
I'm gonna need you as my therapist. I like you. I like you, man.
I am. You're gonna feel. You're gonna have guilt. It's gonna happen. And I like to tell people that guilt is a feeling in the same way that happiness, sadness it will pass. So don't let the temporary discomfort of saying no lead to a longevity of frustration, resentment, overwhelm, people pleasing that puts you and your needs and your desires and your health and well-being on the back burner for other people.
Okay. I have a different question before I let Pat ask his. Being a woman therapist, like when you do have male therapists, like do you have more of a tough time getting them to open up to you due to the fact of the difference in our genders?
I have a couple of male clients, and so the challenge I think that I find is that typically, specifically, I'll speak about with Black men, I have much more Black women clients than I do have Black male clients. I think that there's been a lot of conversation, openness, and a space created for Black women to approach therapy and to engage in it in ways that feel meaningful and helpful. And I don't think that space has been as cultivated for Black men up until this point, right? And so I'm very big on, if you're here, it's because you want to be here, right? And I like to remind folks, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I am okay with that. I'm very okay with that. But with the few Black men that I do get the chance to work with, I often find that they are willing to be open. It's just the first time that they've ever done this before, right? So they don't really understand what vulnerability is. They don't really understand emotional processing. They don't really understand what it feels like for someone to say, okay, well, why? Right? It's very, very rare that I feel like they have had the space to have someone hold their emotional world. And so oftentimes, like when I work with them, they're it's not that they're not open to it, but they're just like, what the fuck is this? Like, I have never, no one's ever asked me that before. I've never thought about or considered that. And so it almost kind of feels bewildering in that way because they haven't had the space cultivated to do that work.
Okay.
Yeah. So simply talking about Black men, and it is men's mental health.
Gang.
Awareness Month. What is some ways, how can men deal with the pressure of feeling the need to be strong all the time? What's some advice you would give to?
I told you I don't give advice.
Well, what is some? What would
He's like, how do I reframe this question? It's okay. I understand what you're saying.
Like, talk to our Black men out there.
One, I want to say it's okay to be vulnerable, right? Vulnerability is the road to intimacy, right? I do believe that Black men want to be seen. They want to be held. They want to be cared for. They want to be actually known beyond the ways in which they present to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerability is the practice of letting someone in to that innermost intimate space.
Mm.
Find the people that feel safe enough to try that with.
Mm.
I think sometimes what I find is people are waiting for the right person or the perfect person to do that with.
Mm-hmm.
And on this journey of life, you just get a lot of opportunity and chances to practice different things. So what does it mean and look like to practice letting someone in maybe just 5%, right? I think sometimes it can be really scary to do that. It can feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to tell this person this thing about me. What happens if they don't like it or if they reject it? And how do you deal with that? Or like, what if I open up and then this person leaves or doesn't want to be my friend? Whatever, right? Think about just opening up a little bit and knowing that it's for you, not necessarily for them. So practice cultivating vulnerability within yourself. Ask yourself questions. Like, my favorite thing to do, and like you often hear therapists saying, well, why? Well, why? Right? And I always tell people, I was like, before you come to therapy, if you are, if you're in a circumstance or situation where your life doesn't afford for it or whatever, asking yourself, okay, why do I feel that way? Why did I think that? Why did I do that? Right? And giving yourself the space to interrogate your own choices and decisions. There are some times where I believe that people go through life on autopilot and they just do things because they don't know any better. And the moment that they stop to say, well, why do I do that? Gives us the opportunity to be able to say, oh, okay.
He
is. It gives us the opportunity to say, okay, like maybe there's more here. Maybe there's more here.
You kind of answered, because the next question I was going to ask was like, what are some ways to connect with, and express what you're feeling and to connect with what you're feeling. But like you said, you just answered that. It would be the why, why do I feel this way? Why do I think this way?
So one of the things, there's a free app called How Do You Feel? How Do You Feel? It has like this little rainbow heart. And I love this app because it's like your own personal check-in. You open the app, you say, yep, I'm going to do a little check-in. And what it brings up is this grid. It asks you, are you feeling high energy or low energy? Are you feeling positively or negatively? And then from there, it gives you a whole bunch of different words and definitions of words to describe how you're feeling. I think that there's sometimes, like we were saying before with anger is a very easily accessible emotion. And the challenge with anger is that anger is not the only emotion, right? People think about the emotions and they think about, what's the movie? Inside Out, right? Joy, sadness, fear, disgust, anger. And there are like infinite words across infinite languages to describe, feelings, right? And one of the things that we can do is every person is just get better emotional vocabulary, become better at being able to identify and distinguish between when am I feeling irritable and when am I feeling frustrated, right? When am I feeling sad and when am I feeling lonely, right? Like when am I feeling excited versus when I'm feeling anxious, right? And so sometimes these things may feel very similarly within our bodies, but being able to discern and to correctly and accurately point out what we're feeling can be really, really helpful for us to even just start to communicate that to other people, right? Instead of saying, I'm just so angry, being like, I'm actually really frustrated and I don't know how to navigate this situation, right? That gives a whole nother context to what's happening internally for a person.
So, real quick, when it comes to that, how would you be able to constantly know the difference between them? Like, how can you be able to pinpoint, like, oh, like, this is this?
Yeah. Well, that's why I really like that specific app. It's a free app. Please use it. I always tell people, use the app.
What's the name of that?
How Do You Feel? We're going to place it somewhere. We're going to link it in the show notes. Yep. It's available on iOS and on Google Play Store. It's a wonderful app. The cool thing, and the reason why I specifically like to shout that app out, one, it's free, and I believe in like providing free and low barrier resources. Two, because it gives you a definition of that feeling, right? You can choose a different way to identify and define that for yourself, but it gives you some language to contextualize it. So it gives you a starting point, right? And that's when I started to click through and be like, okay, am I actually annoyed right now? Am I actually frustrated right now? Am I overwhelmed right now? And I think that's a way that you can do that. Also, the feelings wheel, which I know every therapist talks about, it really is a great resource. But I tell folks, one of the homeworks that I had for one of my clients was to pick, a quadrant on the feelings wheel and like Google and define and write out the definition of every single feeling.
Yeah, I never heard this feelings wheel. I never been a therapist
What?
before.
They call it the emotion wheel.
Feelings, emotion. There's lots of them.
I've never been in therapy.
I
don't know that much about that parameter and aspect of things when it comes to that lane.
Yeah.
Due to us having this podcast, I'm going to be tapping more into that because coming to the Black people and Black community, we need this.
Yeah.
So that's
we deserve this.
Oh, for sure.
We deserve this.
Yeah, that's why this platform is here.
But the question is how does one talk about their mental health with their friends and family?
Yeah, I really love this question, right? Because especially if you're not used to talking about this with people, it can be a very scary thing.
Right.
And so the first thing that I like to do as a way to ease into it is when people ask you, like, how are you? Be honest, right? If you're not good, if you're not fine, be like, things have been rough. I'm struggling a little bit. I'm not having a great day. I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm kind of feeling sad, right? Or I'm like, especially because we were talking about grief a little bit earlier, being like, yeah, I actually really miss my brother, right? I'm sad about this relationship ending. I'm annoyed with my family, right? Like, be honest, right? I think that we pass up a lot of opportunities for genuine connection for habit of trying to be polite. And from that, we miss opportunities and chances to connect and to be honest and be real, right? So the easiest thing is the next time somebody asks you, how are you doing? Instead of being like, I'm fine, I'm good, it's okay, I'm chilling, whatever, be honest, right? Take a moment, take a breath and be like, actually, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Like you said, you started saying like, I'm kind of tired. Like, that's all right? And know that there will be people that will show you they have the capacity to hold that for you, and there will be people that show you that they can't. And what that information shows you is like, okay, I can't go to those people with my feelings or with these big things. These are my kick it people. These are my go out friends or homies. And then there are the people that are gonna be like, that's like, you want to talk about it, dog? Like, you good? Like, can I help? Like, what can we do to help you? Like, those are the relationships you can continue to lean into and show more intimacy and vulnerability.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna put it to the part to give you the power where you can ask us some questions.
I love.
Start with him. I prefer to start with you.
First of all,
we should start with him just for that.
How about I want to throw a question to the both of y'all.
Okay.
That's actually
fair. Start with him.
And I like to ask folks, like, where is your growth edge this season, right? Everybody has things that they feel comfortable with or things that they have improved upon, but where is your growth edge or the ways in which you're trying to expand into your own wholeness and fullness?
That is so funny. Because we're actually going to do an episode next week identifying what season you're in.
Ooh, so, okay.
So for me, this is a part of embracing my edge. Doing this, being seen, expressing, being a healer, essentially, and standing truthful in that. So this is a part of that, leaning more into the genuine connections and building relationships, being more expressive and not holding back my truth. So,
what is your truth?
He wasn't ready for that. He wasn't ready for that.
I don't know, whatever. I mean, I feel like your truth, it just depends on whatever it is at that moment. Like it's
what is your truth today? Like in this moment, what do you know and believe to be true in whatever aspect or that feels meaningful for you?
For right now, my truth right now is that I'm really stepping and growing and evolving into who I wouldn't even say that. Let me rephrase that. Mm-hmm. I'm allowing myself to be who I am, if that makes sense. Because not nothing that you do or change because I'm a spiritual person, so I kind of picked up when you said Ori, so you kind of know what I'm talking about. But it's nothing that you really have to do. You just have to be, however that is. You don't need to be. You don't have to change yourself to show up this way. You don't have to be like you said. You don't have to have all the credentials. You don't have to have these accolades. Who you are is who you are. You just have to be that. So
absolutely,
that's my truth.
I love it. Wow.
It's like I think when it comes to me, it's really getting to the point where I'm allowing myself to really blossom. What I mean by that is there's always looked at myself where like I don't have nothing I'm good at. I look at everybody else's comparison. Like, oh, they're good at this, they're good at that, they're good at this. Like, I don't got nothing I'm good at. But it's like, no, there's a good amount of things that I actually am good at, and I just been overlooking it and not actually putting the effort into it. I've been scared to actually succeed. People say that they're scared to fail. No, I've actually been scared to succeed because I know failure. So
what are you embracing that you have not in the past that you are making space for now?
So obviously Traumaless is my business and everything. I brought it to him a while ago, and since I brought the idea to him, he's like, hey, listen, let's turn that into the podcast. Let's actually move forward that. And I was like, okay, now that I have other people that's in my corner that rely on me to actually step forward, I can't hide. I can't be in the corner. I can't just be like on some BS. I can't. Because this won't progress forward if I don't step up. Yeah. So because they hold me accountable, him, Nate, like I'm like, you know what? I actually gotta do that. They see like the stuff I'm able to do, whether or not it's designing, being creative, all that. They're like, oh, like, and I got other people that be in my corner too that have already been saying this, but I just have not been listening. I just been trying to like, no, it's not true. It's not true. It's not true. But it's like, nah, it is true. Yeah. And I apologize to all those out there that have been saying this. And
they really be like, why are you sleeping on yourself? You're so great.
You know what's funny? It's like we don't ever really see ourselves. It's like granted, we're not supposed to care about what people think, but honestly, sometimes in listening to what people say about you and how you show up is how you realize who you are. The things that you do naturally, the things that people come to you for, the things that like sometimes you just have to ask like, hey, what do you see? Like, how do you view me? How do you see? Of course, not from people that don't know you,
that are committed to misperceiving you and misunderstanding you.
So when I say that, ask the people that you genuinely, that know you, and it's like you would be surprised by what they say about you. Yeah. And it's like how you view yourself is not how people view you.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to be harder on yourself. Full stop. It's a lot easier to be harder on yourself and be more compassionate, to be more forgiving, to be more understanding of others, right? There's this discrepancy between the weight that we carry and those that we place on others, and it's not fair. It's just not fair. And so I definitely hear and understand that. Another question for the both of y'all, because I think because I want to hear both of your voices. I think that's really important. Also, y'all gonna notice, I just put on my therapist voice. Right?
I love it.
There's a difference between like the excited like this and, it just happens.
It's okay. I got two voices. I got the soft voice, and then I got the I'm stirring, and you gonna hear the deepness.
Right. And so this is if people are listening, they're like, oh, she talking a little like what is she? Yeah. So like just acknowledging and presencing that, right? But I would love to know, because intimacy and vulnerability, I think, are really, really important. And I really, really, really think it's important to understand and name how we like to be loved and receive our love.
Mm-hmm.
So my question for you both is, how do you want to be loved? Like, what does that mean and look like for what feels good in your life and world?
You can go first.
Nah. You go first.
I went first last time.
I am still struggling with figuring that out on a daily basis. I will say so far I have started to figure out is how somebody shows up for me, how they talk to me, how they treat me, and accepting my love as well, like how I'm showing up to the person every day. Granted, I'm not perfect. No. I'm going to fail. I'm going to constantly keep trying though. But like it's more so just accepting it. Like, because if I'm going to sit here and I'm a physical touch person.
Yeah.
Like, always am. Everybody that's around me, they know I'm just a touchy-feely person. And if it's like you're being standoffish to me, now it starts to feel like, oh, you're not trying to receive my love, which that's just probably not how you are as a person, but that's how I like to show my affection towards people. That's how I like to just be with people that I'm cool with, that are really close to me. So.
I think it's important to name that, right? And to show people how to love us, right? There's being present and showing up is important, right? I always fight with folks and say that, as far as I know, nobody's a mind reader. So you have to tell people what you want, what you expect, what you wish for, what you desire, what you need, where your boundaries are, what you have to offer. Right? And being clear about that so you can communicate it so another person has the opportunity to show up in that way, or make the choice to opt out and say, I don't have the capacity, or I actually don't desire that.
Right.
And then they can remove themselves from that in that way as well.
Okay, I like that.
So let me make sure the question was, how do you like to repeat the question one more time?
How do you like to be loved, Pat?
Unconditionally.
Everything comes with conditions.
Not love. Love is not supposed to. Because I think that, so for me, I feel that love is unconditional. Love is the gift, is our purpose for being here, right? Love is how you heal, and that may show up differently. It may come through physical touch. It may come through a conversation. It may come through an action of doing something. And so for me, I say unconditional because I want somebody, people, friends, family, relationship, whatever the case may be, that no matter how I show up, you still will provide love. You still will provide me that compassion. You still, it's like, I don't have to worry about not being 100%. I don't have to worry about you're only doing this to get something out of me. I feel like love nowadays has become transactional and not unconditional. You should still love and be loved without expecting anything in return. Hey, ask me how I'm doing without expecting. Like, if I may not be in the mindset, the capacity to ask you how you're doing, but don't hold that against me. Like, I feel like that's what I mean by when I say unconditional. Do it just because, not because I want something from you or I'm expecting something back from you.
I like that answer, and I think I'm going to push back against it because that is a way, and that's an ethic, right? That's a love. What you're talking about is a love ethos and a love ethic. Shout out to Bell Hooks. But your love ethic is unconditional, right? So this idea that there is no, keeping of wrongs, like in the Bible, right? We're not like ticking off and saying like, oh, it's tit for tat, or you did this for me, so I love you in this way, right? But what I'm asking you specifically is, how do you want to receive that? Like, what does that actually look like in practice?
Yeah, Pat, what does that look like?
It's okay. It's okay if you say, it's okay to say I actually don't know. Like, that's
I don't know, because
simple answer.
It's like I don't know how. I'm just trying to think of. It's just like, just somebody listening. Hey, I heard you said you like this. I got it for you. Hey, I know you're having a bad day. I know you said you're tired. Hey, you need help with it. Let me take care of this for you. Or, like, I don't know, like.
So consideration.
Consideration. being considerate,
Yeah.
See, I'm still trying to learn the different vocabulary.
It's okay.
for all this.
That's why you get you a therapist.
You seem like
Shameless
you need
plug.
a hug, bro.
It's
you
okay.
need a hug.
It's okay.
Sometimes
We can have a group hug.
Yeah.
We can have a group hug.
Absolutely. No, and the reason why I say that is because people don't define love or like how they wish and desire to be loved. Mm-hmm. It is very, very socially acceptable to say, oh, I love you, but then be like, okay, well, what does that actually mean? Does that actually have breath behind it? Mm-hmm. Right? So what does it mean to actually show love and to be love is one thing. To show and receive love is another thing. Mm-hmm. To be in a loving relationship is a whole nother thing. Right?
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, oh no.
Go ahead.
You said receive love, and one thing I realized, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate, is that they don't know how to receive love. Because you've been in environments where
you're always expected to give. Yeah. We are overgiving people. We are overgiving people. We are people pleasing ass people. Okay. And so like the practice, and like I like to tell people, we are in constant practice of like learning and regrowing these different parts of ourselves. So what does it mean to be in the practice of receiving? Right? What does it mean to let someone show up for you? What does it mean to actually let somebody take something off of your plate, right? Something that I often find is that people have a history of folks not showing up. So when there are people that offer it, they're like, no, I got it. It's fine.
Can't do everything by yourself. It's what I'm realizing.
You can't. And like, it's not sustainable. It's not a sustainable way to exist. So... And I also want to be real and acknowledge that there are a lot of people in this world that feel like they just don't have anybody, right? And to those folks, I don't want to disregard or make them feel like less than. I always like to tell folks, like, you will find your people. If you keep searching, they are always searching back for you. They are always searching back for you. So keep looking until you find the people that can show up and love you and receive you in ways that make you feel seen and heard, and continue to let the people who are committed to misinterpreting you, let them go.
Right.
Okay.
I have one last question.
Okay, I was about to ask you if you had another question.
So at the top of the, well, I'll save that for later, but then I'm going to ask this question because I know, what is one thing what is one thing you desire more of in this season?
Relationship, community.
Okay.
Yeah, community.
I love that.
Understanding. Understanding within myself and understanding from others. Like, I want to understand everybody around me. But primarily, I need to understand me.
Absolutely.
So that's what it is.
Absolutely.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
I know you can agree with it.
I said it. That's why you said it, huh?
Yeah, I said it.
Yeah.
All right. You got another question for her?
So before we close out, I want you to give the audience some hard work that they could do.
Breathe. First and foremost, breathe. We, especially as Black people, do not breathe deep enough to help us regulate our nervous systems. I'm not going to get too nerdy, but breathing deeply and breathing slowly helps our bodies to feel safe.
Let's take a couple deep breaths now.
Okay, you want me to like talk you through like breathing? We can do that.
Breath work.
I love it. Okay. For the audience, I'll give you a little like sumptuousness, right?
Hey,
okay.
ASMR.
A little ASMR. So I like to start by breathing all of the air out. We're gonna breathe in, taking a fresh breath here. Hold at the top and exhale. On this next inhale, breathe in something that you want in this season. Breathing in and exhaling whatever it's time to let go of. Next one, you're going to inhale something that you really, really want. Take an extra sip of air at the top and let it go. And now we're going to do one of my fun ones. We're going to breathe in through our nose. And on the exhale, I want you to give me an HA. It's one of my favorite ones.
Some hot breath right there.
Right? I like to remind folks to breathe. Holding your breath higher increases your blood pressure. It dysregulates you. So continue to breathe. And then my favorite 3 questions for self-reflection, or anyone who at any space in their journey, is to ask yourself, what are the current lessons that you are learning in this season of life? What are the things that you are letting go and leaving behind? And what are the things that you desire more of? Right? So those are 3 questions that I love that can anchor you wherever you are.
Thank you so much for that.
Of course.
We really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk with us.
Of course.
You have very beautiful energy. The work that you're doing, I can see the work that you're doing, like, without actually having the energy never lies. So, anything you want to say?
Well, we're gonna have to talk a little bit more off camera, especially about trying to get some more people to get to you.
Heck
especially
yeah.
when it comes to trying to partner with you.
Yeah. If anyone is interested, my email is ash, ASH, at altruisticash.co. No M. And my website is altruisticash.co for folks that are interested. And like I said before, Instagram, TikTok, all the things, Altruistic Ash.
Okay. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Now, if you like this episode, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, I'm your host, JR.
And it's your co-host, Pat.
Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned to our next episode.
Gang, gang. Y'all sweating? Oh, okay.
You sweating?
Yeah.
Need some tissue?
No.
You sure? Need some tissue?
I'm better now. Like it's like here. So I'm like, all right.
Normally you'd be back here.
Yeah.
We were
Not towards me.
you know,
Don't do it.
we can talk about that.
So what you here for, Nate? You want to come sit on the couch?
Yeah.
No.
Cup of squat.
Come sit on the couch.
Cup of squat.
You like hiding behind the camera?
Cup of
You
squat.
know, people who hide behind. Never mind. I'm not
Anyway,
going to.
we gonna get into that.
Because I know there's so many people in my life that I love that are like behind the camera, photographers, cinematographers, all. And I'm like, y'all are all very, y'all be hiding. It's okay.
Look.
We want to see you.
See, me and Nate need to trade places.
Well,
See,
maybe,
nah, it's been hard
maybe
for
when
me.
we get Nate on this couch, you can come back.
Nah, it's funny, cause
Yeah. Somebody.
You will figure it out.
We
That
get
is
somebody
nothing.
to fill in for the day.
Yeah.
Well,
I got somebody. I have somebody already.
But who's gonna be behind there when you and your wife come on?
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, you didn't think you didn't think about that. No. Yeah, nah, buddy.
Because you need to be fully present.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway.